Hollywood thrives on noise, but this time, the noise came from just one sentence. It happened on a Friday afternoon, during what was supposed to be a lighthearted interview. Dakota Johnson, radiant as ever, sat across from a talk show host who couldn't resist bringing up 50 Shades of Grey, the franchise that had defined a generation and permanently tied her name to that of Jamie Dornan. When asked about their time working together, Dakota smiled and said casually, "What Jamie and I had was rare. We understood each other completely, sometimes without even speaking." The audience laughed, clapped, and moved on. But Hollywood didn't. Within hours, that single quote was everywhere. Twitter lit up with hashtags. Hashtag Dakota and Jamie. Hashtag Rare Connection. Hashtag Amelia React. Tabloids twisted her words into fireworks. Dakota Johnson admits deep emotional bond with Jamie Dornan. The chemistry that never ended. At first, it seemed like harmless nostalgia. Two old co-stars reflecting on their shared history. But to Amelia Warner, Jamie's wife of over a decade, it wasn't harmless at all. It was personal. For years, Amelia had endured endless comparisons, tabloid headlines, and speculative articles pairing her husband with Dakota Johnson. Through it all, she had remained silent, graceful, choosing dignity over drama. But this time, something in Dakota's tone, that phrase, "We understood each other completely," crossed a line. Just hours after the clip went viral, Amelia broke her silence. On her social media, she posted a single message, calm, but sharp as glass. "Understanding is one thing, respect is another." No tags, no photos, no further explanation. Just 12 words, and those 12 words were enough to set Hollywood ablaze. Within minutes, her post was trending. Fans dissected it, reposted it, analyzed every possible meaning. Some applauded her for standing up for herself. Finally, Amelia says what we've all been thinking. Others accused her of overreacting. Dakota didn't mean anything. Why bring jealousy into it? But to those who had followed Amelia and Jamie's story from the beginning, her reaction made sense. "She's been silent for too long," a source close to the couple told People magazine. "Amelia's not the type to create drama, but she's human. Imagine hearing the same narrative for years, that your husband's deepest connection wasn't with you, but with someone he worked with. Everyone has a breaking point. The next 24 hours were chaos." Cameras camped outside Jamie's London home. Reporters shouted questions about Dakota and Amelia. His phone buzzed endlessly, agents, publicists, journalists all begging him for a statement. But Jamie said nothing. Then, the following evening, he appeared unexpectedly at a charity gala in Dublin. Dressed in a black suit, he smiled politely for photos, but anyone watching closely could see the tension beneath the surface, the flicker of restrained anger in his eyes. When one reporter dared to ask, "Jamie, how do you feel about Dakota's recent comments?" the calm broke. He stopped walking, turned toward the microphones, and said sharply, "Enough. People need to stop turning kindness into scandal." The tone was cold, final, almost explosive. The air went still. Every outlet ran with the moment. Jamie Dornan snaps. Defends Amelia amid Dakota controversy. Dornan explodes at reporters over co-star question. But behind that anger was exhaustion. Years of being polite, diplomatic, careful. This time, Jamie had reached his limit. He wasn't angry at Dakota, said one of his close friends. He was angry at the machine. At how one sentence can become a weapon. How the world keeps forcing him to choose between his wife and his past. As the clip of Jamie's outburst spread online, reactions poured in. Some fans hailed him as a hero, finally defending Amelia after years of gossip. Others accused him of being too emotional, saying his reaction only fueled more speculation. Even Dakota herself was reportedly caught off guard. A source close to her said she was shocked by the backlash. Dakota never meant to offend anyone, the insider explained. She was talking about friendship, not romance. She respects Amelia deeply. But the damage was already done. The triangle, Amelia, Dakota, Jamie, had once again taken over every headline, meme, and comment thread. And for the first time in his career, Jamie Dornan wasn't just reacting to the noise. He was fighting back. Still, no one knew yet what he would say next, or how far he was willing to go to set the record straight. Because as one reporter whispered that night, watching him walk away from the flashing lights, this wasn't just a reaction. It was the start of something bigger. And behind closed doors, those who knew Jamie best said the same thing. He wasn't done talking. He was about to tell the truth behind his explosion, his anger, and the one woman he'd finally decided to defend, no matter the cost. The world had seen Jamie Dornan explode, but what came next would silence Hollywood in an entirely different way. 2 days after his outburst at the Dublin charity gala, Jamie finally sat down for an exclusive interview. No red carpet, no bright lights, no polished PR lines. Just a quiet conversation in a small London studio. For the first time, he was ready to explain what really happened between Amelia, Dakota, and himself. When the interviewer asked him about the viral clip, his anger, his tone, Jamie smiled faintly, though there was no humor in it. "You know," he said, "I've spent most of my career pretending to be calm, even when I wasn't. But that night, I just couldn't pretend anymore." He leaned forward slightly, elbows on his knees. "People have been talking about me and Dakota for nearly a decade. Every interview, every project, someone finds a way to bring it up. And I get it. We shared something powerful on screen. But the truth is, that's where it stayed, on screen." The interviewer nodded carefully, letting him continue. "When Dakota said we understood each other completely, she was right," Jamie admitted. "But understanding doesn't always mean romance. It means trust. It means having someone who's been through the same madness as you, the fame, the judgment, the loneliness. That kind of connection isn't about desire. It's about survival." He took a breath, but people don't want to hear that. They want drama. They want to turn friendship into betrayal. Then, for the first time, he mentioned Amelia. "I think Amelia's reaction was valid," he said quietly. "She's had to live with all of this, the headlines, the whispers, the constant comparisons. And through it all, she's carried herself with grace. But everyone has a limit. And when she finally spoke up, people called it jealousy. It wasn't jealousy, it was exhaustion." He looked down for a moment, his voice softening. "I've always told her she never needed to defend herself. Maybe I should have been the one defending her sooner." Those words, simple but raw, became the quote that would dominate headlines for the next week. Maybe I should have defended her sooner. It wasn't a press-trained apology. It was a confession, one that revealed not guilt, but regret. Within hours, Dakota Johnson issued her own statement through social media. It wasn't defensive or angry, it was understanding. "I never meant to cause hurt," she wrote. "Jamie and Amelia are family to me in their own ways. The bond we had on set was built on trust and friendship, nothing else. The media has a way of twisting humanity into headlines. I wish them both peace." Her message was short, but it carried weight. For the first time, all three names, Jamie, Amelia, Dakota, appeared not in conflict, but in quiet resolution. But what people couldn't see was the conversation that had already happened behind the scenes. According to a close source, Jamie had called Dakota the night before the interview aired. He told her he was sorry for the chaos, that it wasn't her fault. She told him she understood, that the world would always read into things that never existed. Amelia, true to form, didn't post another word. But days later, she was photographed walking beside Jamie outside their home. No tension, no icy body language, just two people walking together in silence, their hands brushing, almost like forgiveness had already happened long before anyone knew. A friend close to Amelia later revealed, she saw the interview. She cried, actually, not because of what he said about Dakota, but because he finally said what she'd been waiting years to hear, that he understood her pain. It was a moment of quiet healing, the kind that doesn't trend, doesn't make for viral headlines, but means everything to the people living it. A week later, Jamie attended another event, this time for an independent charity he'd supported for years. When asked if the incident had changed anything, he smiled, a little wiser now. "I think it reminded me of what really matters," he said. "It's easy to lose yourself in the noise, the fame, the gossip, the pressure to stay perfect. But sometimes, you have to explode to remember who you are." He paused, choosing his next words carefully. "I love Dakota. She's a friend for life. But Amelia, she's my home. She's the person who knows every side of me, even the ones I try to hide." When I snapped, it wasn't anger at Dakota or the press. It was frustration that the world keeps confusing love with storylines. The room went quiet, the cameras kept rolling, but no one dared interrupt him. "I've played characters who lose everything for the wrong reasons," he said softly. "I won't be one of them." That final sentence echoed across social media, not as scandal, but as redemption. In the end, Hollywood moved on to its next controversy, as it always does. But those who paid attention saw something different this time, not just gossip or headlines, but the rare glimpse of authenticity behind a polished star. Jamie Dornan didn't explode out of rage. He exploded out of love, for the woman who had stood beside him in silence, for the peace he'd spent years protecting, and for the truth that connection doesn't always have to be misunderstood. As one fan perfectly wrote online, "This wasn't a love triangle. It was a lesson that sometimes the loudest noise in Hollywood is just the sound of a man finally telling the truth."